Slaughterhouse, the badass bitch. Hi, and welcome to the Slaughterhouse. I am Kelly Slaughter, and I am here today with Xazyl from Sergeant Slaughterhouse.
Hello.
Thanks for being here, Xazyl.
My pleasure.
And we're here with my dad, Sarge.
Hi.
And Dean.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Dean.
Hello, Dean.
Thank you both for joining us today.
Good to be here.
Thank all of you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Both of all of us. Yeah.
Three.
And now you know.
You're getting better at this. You're getting better.
Thank you all for joining.
Yeah.
us today.
Who else is here?
Yeah.
Both of all of us are here.
All of us.
Yes, correct.
So,
If you're not here, raise your hand. Okay.
I think I'm physically here. Mentally, I'm gone.
it's been a long day. It's been a long day for you, Dad, because you filmed really early this morning with Xazyl.
Yes.
Thank you.
Which was evening for Xazyl, right?
Yes. Now it's
I think
reversed.
Yeah, that's right. It must be close to the time. It must be. I think it was about this time last night. So just after midnight, where I finally went to bed, and it's now that time midday. So it's been a long one.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful morning for me because I got to be with Xazyl, my number one marauder, and Mark Potter, my number one renegade, along with Space Commander. We had a really wonderful chat, and we just couldn't stop talking. So finally, even though I didn't have to go, I said, I got to go.
Yeah. The time went by very quickly, and I appreciate that time. Mark definitely appreciated it as well. He said he was the happiest he'd been in a long time. So thanks for that.
I think it was really good therapy for Mark.
Yeah, I agree. We got to talk about some men's health as well, which I think was a good topic to bring up. So I appreciate all of that time.
Yeah.
And you know what, Xazyl? I didn't realize that Space Commander was in outer space. All these times I've done shows with you and him and Slaughter Daughter, I just thought his microphone was kind of messed up. I didn't realize he was broadcasting from outer space.
From the space station, yeah.
Above the UK.
Above,
that's right.
Yes. So now I know.
And now you know.
That's the best. Yeah. There you go.
So, Dad or Dean, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with my dad?
Well, that's broad and wide, as you know your dad.
Nothing.
I get to spend a lot of time with him on the road when I have some time. Yeah, well, it's okay. I've adjusted and I've adapted. We'll get into the mental health issues later. But I spend time with him on the road. I get to be the heel for the Sarge. I get to tell the people how much money they owe us. I get to turn some people away at times when they get a little rude.
Who would be rude?
Oh, you'd be surprised, but that's another day's story. But no, I get to spend a lot of time with him at these Comic-Cons and meet and greets. And it's just a lot of fun because we spend a lot of time talking about the old days and some of the stories from the road and things that I've shared with him that he didn't know too. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Dean's been around the business for a long time. And I just got to know him the last few years. And we've shared a lot of stories and a lot of that I didn't know about that he knew. And I've shared with him what he didn't know. So it's always a fun ride down the road or on an airplane. And after the shows, we go out for dinners and
decompress.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And as your grandmother, Kelly, always told me, and I live to this day, is work hard, but enjoy and have a good meal. So we always go out.
Right.
Yep.
We work hard and we go out and relax and have a nice meal afterwards. But Dean works very hard. He works alongside Paul. Sometimes he's with Paul same times, and then there are times when, like Paul is in Europe for two months, so he's doing the Rolling Stones concert.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
saw that. I saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so now Dean has taken his place on the road with me, and we don't have to give as good of a count as we normally do.
Off the top.
Off the top, we take everything off the top. Yeah, an extra shrimp cocktail.
I don't know nothing. Nothing.
It must be nice to have a travel buddy that you get along with, though. You
Yes.
guys look like you get along well. You know.
Yes, we have a lot of fun
We
together.
do have a lot of fun. And
I
a
don't
lot of
think
times
we-
at dinner time, we don't know who's going to be with us too, and sometimes those guys are fun too.
Yeah. And you meet so many different people, and when you go into restaurants and people recognize you, and we have fun with that, and everybody's, as long as they're nice about it, we have a good time.
Right.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Dean is one of those guys that no nonsense, and you got to do it his way, or you don't do it. As far as a fan would,
Right.
I think I may have told the story this morning with Xazyl that, or no, it was at breakfast this morning. Some gentleman came up. He was the first one in line to get a Mattel Ultimate Edition Sergeant Slaughter signed.
Right.
And we hadn't even gotten set up yet. I didn't even have my campaign cover on or my sunglasses on, my jacket on. But he was the first one in line, and he wanted to get that autograph. And he started talking with Dean, and Dean told him what it was going to cost him. And he said, "Oh, what? Really? You have to pay that?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's what we charge. They only made 3,500 of them. They're a collector item." So
Yeah.
the guy kind of scooted around a little bit, and then he came to me directly as I'm putting on my outfit, and he goes, "Sarge, do I really have to pay that?" And I said, "Well, you can either do that or find another Sergeant Slaughter to sign it for you." Good luck with that.
Yeah. Wow.
There's
We
only
want
one.
We were at 4 days.
4 days.
4 days at the WrestleCon in Dallas, and we're breaking down. I've got my outfit back off on the 4th day. Here he comes, and he got it signed.
Oh, he
waited. He waited 4 days to come back and get it signed.
It took him that long to scrape up the money, I guess.
Either that, or he just was looking at everything else and seeing what he could afford, couldn't afford.
Yeah.
I think telling him that there's, get another Sergeant Slaughter, he kind of rang a bell in his head, like, yeah, he's right.
Right.
Well, a Sergeant Slaughter signature is a good investment.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be
figure
someday.
too. That figure is an important one.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't realize that you charge different prices for different things that you sign.
Mm-hmm.
So that's news to me. Unfortunately, I've never been in a position where I can just come up and get something signed. So
Why not?
Well, I'm all the way in Australia, my friend.
I know that, but they have airplanes, right?
It's a
Fair enough.
expensive and long.
I'm just making excuses now, Dean. You're right. You're absolutely right, Dean. I will be there at the front of the line. I'll haggle with you some of the prices, and you can break my arm if I get out of line.
Well, see, he taught me how to get you here, so I just did it.
Perfect. I'm convinced.
So, Dad,
Yes.
you wanted to talk about the Mean Gene interview.
Yeah, it always comes up on Twitter about every 2-3 months. And originally, when it was done back in the early 80s, we thought it was destroyed, because wasn't meant to air. We were trying to have some fun. What had happened is we were so busy on the road with the WWF at that time that when we would get to a hotel or to a city like Pittsburgh, we would check in, and before we would go to the arena, if some of the guys wanted to go work out, they could, but they had to go up to this room at a hotel that they made into like a makeshift studio. And me and Gene would do promos on every town. Back then, we would promo every town, not just do a general interview where they would throw on the name of the city that we're going to be at and change the times and all that. So, we would do that till about 5 or 6 o'clock, and then we would jump in our cars and go to the Pittsburgh Civic Center and wrestle. And then on our way back, we'd stop and get a bite to eat. And then we would go back to the room and finish doing more interviews before we went to bed and headed out to the airport the next morning or drove someplace else. And so it was like 2 or so o'clock in the morning, maybe later. And we were up to our last promo, our last city that we had to do. And I walked over to Roddy Piper and Bobby Heenan and trying to think of some of the other, Pat Patterson, Jimmy Snuka, Don Morocco. There was a Jake the Snake Roberts, and there was probably 12 of us there. And so I went up because no one could ever get Gene Okerlund to bust a promo. He was such a professional that if he made a mistake or you made a mistake, he would fix it and make it happen and put that one in the can. That was okay. So I went up to the guys and I said, huddle up. Let's have some fun. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. How about if we all take $20, put it in the pot? Don't tell Gene. And whoever gets him to laugh first gets the money, or to not be able to do the interview. Not so much laugh, but to
ruin the promo, right?
To ruin the promo. So they all said, okay. So a couple of guys tried and they couldn't get it. So finally it was my turn. And I think who was the Yokozuna spoke in English.
Oh, Kamala too.
Kamala. Kamala, that's who it was. Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala never spoke, and all of a sudden he's speaking perfect English. And Gene Oker's like,
did he just speak English?
but he didn't. He let it go. Well, I forget what he. Well, that's a first, And Kamala always had a manager who was usually the Brooklyn Brawler dressed up as Kimchi. And but I finally, it was my turn. And so I started doing a promo about United States and the Iron Sheik and how dare you, Iron Sheik, spit on the ground, the dirt on the ground, my mother's. And I just went off on this completely crazy promo. I was mixing up my words and I was stumbling and finally he started bouncing and to not break up. He left the camera.
That's cheating.
You see the microphone. All you see is the microphone, and I'm talking to his hand like that. So I grabbed the microphone and continued. And then he came back in, and I finally got him to break up, and I started to laugh. But I figured, they would never. I got the money, but I never thought that would air. But somebody kept it in the blooper reel, and it shows up all the time on the.
It is out there. I have watched it a dozen times.
Yeah.
I learned a few things that day, and I did not know.
It never gets old. Yeah.
I did not know that Gene Okerlund smoked cigarettes during his interviews.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And you can smoke in the building.
Oh, back in those days, yeah.
Back then you could, yeah.
Dad, what would you say was your favorite match you've ever done?
My favorite match
That you've ever wrestled?
would have to be the alley fight with Pat Patterson.
I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah.
Why?
Only because it was before its time and it was so unusual. And to this day, they've never had another one. I don't know, out of respect for Pat and I, that we had this match that no one had ever had before. And what was special about it was Mr. McMahon Sr. was running the company at that time. And he came to me and said, I want to have a special match, Sergeant, between you and Pat Patterson at Madison Square Garden. And it's going to be called the alley fight. And I said, okay, well, I've seen those kind of matches where the guys, I'm thinking we're going to go outside Madison Square Garden and be fighting on 7th Avenue, or Broad Street, or Broadway. And I was kind of figure out what kind of match it would end up being.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally he said, well, it's going to be a match where there's no rules. It's going to be called the alley fight. No rules. And you can wear anything you want into the ring. And there's no disqualification, all this. And he said, and the big stipulation is there's no referee.
Mm.
No referee.
Right.
How does that work?
How does that work? So up until the match, I'm in my locker room in Madison Square Garden, and they come and say, you guys are up on deck, kind of like in a baseball game. They take you're up, you're on deck. Before your match, they'll come and tell you when you're going to be. So I had Ernie Roth as my manager. I called in the general, and so on our way to the ring, I said, Ernie, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah, Sarge, what is it? I said, no referee, no rules, anything goes. I got combat boots on and fatigues, and I said, how does this match end?
Right.
And he said, that's a good question. How does it end? There's no referee to stop it, or ring a bell or count, So he said, I'll be right back, because he was really close with Vince McMahon Sr. So he's gone for about 5 minutes, and I can hear my music playing. Finally, here he comes running. He's out of breath. He says, everything's okay. Everything's set. Let's go. I said, okay. So Pat's already in the ring, and as soon as I get up on the ring apron and go to climb into the ring, here comes Pat after me. I don't even have a chance to take my campaign cover off or anything. He's just whamming on me. He's going like crazy. And so the people are just going crazy because we had all these matches where there was never a result, there was never a decision. And so these people wanted to see this, and they didn't know what the alley fight was either. It was the first time they ever did one. So we pulled it off, and the way that it ended was Ernie came out with a towel and threw the towel in to stop the match, because I was bleeding so badly. I hit the ring post, and your mother, Kelly, was on her way from Minneapolis to bring me my birth certificate, because Vince McMahon Sr. wanted me to go to Japan like the next week, and I didn't have a passport. And so your mom had to fly in and bring me my birth certificate. And as soon as I hit that ring post and I saw the blood coming out, the first thing I thought was, how is she going to find me in New York City what hospital am I going to be at? Because I don't even know where I'm at. How is she'd never been to New York, you know? How is she going to find me? But luckily, the trainer was able to wash it all off and do what we call a butterfly, where you take tape and you make it like a stitch. And I had like 20 or 30 pieces of tape across my head, and it stopped bleeding. And all of my passport pictures for 6 years all had this big,
thing on your head.
Yeah, on my head. Was,
Wow.
I had a beautiful suit on, and my head's like all bandaged. It's crazy.
Yikes.
But I just thought there's no way she's gonna find me at what hospital. I mean, who knows? So, but
You would have been filled with so much adrenaline in that moment that you probably didn't even feel it.
no, I felt the burn, but as soon as I saw the blood, my mind went completely off of the pain, because I was thinking about Diane getting there. Where's she gonna find me? And so I just kept battling, and it was just if you ever get a chance to watch it, if you haven't seen it, but it was what they called hardcore before hardcore. It was done in 1982 or 81, or I think it was 81, 82, and it was before the hardcore style, and actually Mick Foley was a fan. He was in the front row of Madison Square Garden watching the match, and that's what inspired him to become a professional wrestler.
And his matches are pretty extreme too, so that would have
and he's the extreme of the extreme. So
right,
we were the first ones to really have that extreme type of match, and so to our I don't know what has, like I said, 81, I think it was, and it's 2022, and there's never been another alley fight. Never has there ever been another alley fight ever put on, not only in WWF or WWE. I don't think there's ever been one anywhere. It was that was so good, and it was so respectful of them not to try to copy it. I've seen Kurt Hennig, a few people emulate the match, but they had a referee, and Kurt Hennig almost did it move for move for what we did in our match in the alley fight. And it was just one of those crazy times, But that was probably my all-time favorite match, because it really started everything for WWF when Vince, our boss of today, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, took over, and it was just my favorite of all of my matches. And then of course there was matches with Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood, with Uncle Don Kernodle, that we did in Greensboro. And you think of the population, and we only had a couple, like 3 stations that broadcasted our matches, and we turned away. They say they turned away 17,000 cars, not people, cars.
Wow. Okay.
They had a big thing in the newspaper the next day on Sunday that the North Carolina State Patrol estimated 17,000 cars were turned away. And to do that kind of business with, such a small market was really another, a feather in the cap to the 4 of us to do that, But we wanted to continue it, but they messed it up, and we didn't get to continue it.
So back then you had territories.
Right.
So which is different than now, because now you just have
2 or 3 majors AEW is considered a major league. WWE and basically a Japanese promotion is probably the third major league where a lot of wrestlers go to. So, but yeah, you're right. Back when I started, it was all territories. And you would wrestle somewhere for 6-8 months, maybe not even that long, and you would be told that you're no longer needed, or you may have decided that's not where you want to be. So you would look and see who was in another territory and decide if you wanted to go in as a hero or a villain, whichever was best for your character. So you bounced around, and so I went to Atlanta one time for Ole Anderson. I was only there for 2 weeks because he came to me and said, Bob, you're a great talent, and I don't want to waste your talent, but I just have so many guys that I don't think it's fair for you to be here. I said, not a problem. So I picked up the phone and I called the next territory, and it got booked. So.
So are there contracts involved when you're going from territory to territory, or you just come in and do a stint and then move on?
Some were contracted. Most of them weren't. Now they have more contracts these days because of all the merchandise and they have hospitalization and things like that. No life insurance or anything like that. But the like the WWE will have $1 million life insurance policy on you, but if you die, you don't get it; they get it.
No. Wow.
You're an investment to them. And getting the territory or the company rocking and rolling, and all of a sudden you die and you're gone. They gotta get something out of it for all they invested in you.
Wow.
Well, yeah, you're worth $1 million to someone, right?
Right.
So the alley fight, I looked it up. It was May 4th, 1981.
81.
Yeah. So very early on. Yes. Thank you, Google.
I was only 2 years old.
Yeah, you were 2 years old. Yeah, that's right.
So when we moved to Charlotte, it was because you were changing territories and you were going to start working for the Crockett's?
Right. I went from when I was wrestling at Super Destroyer Mark II in Minneapolis for about 3 years, wearing the mask. Pat Patterson was going to New York, and I gave him pictures of Sarge and Slaughter. This was in 1979, 1978, 79. And my time was up, so I gave Pat pictures of Sarge and Slaughter that I created in 1975. And he looked at him and said, Matthew, who is this? I said, Pat, that's me.
Lord Alfred Hayes called you Matthew.
Right, but then everybody else called me Matthew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was confused for a second there.
For a second.
Yeah. Well, what happened was Lord Alfred Hayes spoke the Queen's English. He was an actual lord in England. And so when you spoke to him, he would not call you Bob. He'd call you either Robert or Patrick. He would never say Pat. He'd say Patrick. And Louis Dondero, Pat's friend, and anybody that like Nick Bockwinkel, Nicholas, was never Nick, never the short name.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the way it was in Australia or if it was just a Queen's English type of thing.
No, over here we shorten names. So Kelly would be Kells. Yeah. You might get Robbo if you were going by Robert. It'd be Robbo. Right. Dean would be D-Man. The
E-Man.
D-Meister.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's never. Yeah, we make up names.
That's,
So-
that's better than the names he calls me sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard the stories, mate. Yeah.
but I would check into my hotels when I was wearing the mask as Matt Burns. Like you got a Matt Burn on your elbow from wrestling
The mat
Oh, right.
to protect
Right.
my identity.
to protect innocence.
So Alfred would never call me Matt. He'd say, Matthew, what time are you picking me up? You know, and I'd say, Alfred, I'll be there at 7:00. Okay, Matthew. And he called me Matthew constantly, never Bob, or he called me Matthew. And so Pat would call me Matthew. And anybody we would associate with, your mother started calling me Matthew for a while.
They just picked up on it.
They all picked up on it, and that was my name. And people still call me that today. That are still
That you back then.
that knew me back then. Al Darusha and his son, they still call me Matthew when I see them. You know, and it's a funny thing. But so I said to Pat, that's me, Pat. That's a character I created in 1975, and I've been under the mask, so I haven't been able to use it. He said, well, what do you want me to do with it? Do with them? And I said, would you mind taking them to New York with you to show Mr. McMahon Sr., see if he has any interest in having Sergeant Slaughter come? So about 2 weeks later, I got a call from Mr. McMahon Sr. He says, yes, I'd like to have you come in. And he always called me Sergeant. Sergeant, I've got your photos, and I'd like to have you come in and have a tryout. And a tryout meant you would get on the microphone and talk. You wouldn't wrestle. You would just talk and see if you could do a promo.
Right.
And so I got the call, and I went in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And that's how I got started in New York. I waited all day. Back then, they did 3 shows in one night. They would tape 3 shows and then air them each week. And then 4 weeks later, you'd go do them all over again, 3 more of them. So I waited till the last show. I was the right before the last match. Vince McMahon Sr. came to me and said, Sergeant, I want you to go out and have an interview with my son. And I said, well, which one is he? And he said, he's the fancy one with the fancy haircut. And I said, oh. And he said, can you believe he spends $300 on his haircuts? And I said,
Wow.
Back then, that was
Back then,
That's a lot of money.
back then, that was
that's a lot now.
1979. And
Jeez.
so he said, I want you to go do a promo with him. I'm going to tell him that you're going to come out and do a promo. I said, okay. He said, are you ready to go? I said, just give me a minute to get my stuff on. So I got my combat boots on, my fatigues, and my campaign cover, my whistle, my dark glasses, and I had a cigar. And so then I told him I was ready. And he said, is there anything else I can do to set up this promo for you? And I said, well, there's one other thing. I don't know if it's possible. And he said, what is it? So I reached into my bag and I gave him a cassette tape. And he said, what's this? And I said, it's music. He goes, well, what kind of music? I said, it's a Marine Corps hymn. And he said, well, what do you want me to do with it? I said, can you play it before I go out? He said, play music before you go out? I said, yeah, kind of like an entrance music, you know. And he goes, I never thought about that. Well, let's see if I can get it done. So he leaves and comes back. He says, okay, the director said he can cue it up whenever you're ready. I said, okay, I'm ready. He says, okay, as soon as your music plays, you can go. So the music, and Mr. McMahon had like 4 quarters always in his hands. It's kind of a nervous thing. you could always tell when he was around because you hear those quarters. And so he's looking at the monitor and he's waiting for the music. And he's dingling those quarters. And all of a sudden the music starts playing and I go to walk out the door of the locker room. And he puts his arm across my path, stops me. And he puts his arm down and he's doing the quarters. And he was listening to the reaction of the people in the arena to the music because they'd never had music before. And so finally he said, okay, go. And so when I walk out, nobody knew me from a hole in the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
I walk out, I blow my whistle, I got my cigar, and I'm looking mean and tough, and I'm looking at everybody. They're kind of like dead silence, like, who's this guy? And I'm going, all right, you maggots, get on your feet and salute Sergeant Slaughter. You scum, you slime, you puke. And by the time I get to Vince McMahon Jr., they're coming over the railing. They don't even know who I am. They're, who you calling a puke? Who you calling a maggot? You know, who's this guy? You know. So I finally get up to Vince to do the promo, and we'd never met before. We never saw each other all day long. I didn't know who he was, you know, till his dad told me who he was. So he, you know, Vince is always a big workout guy. So he's gonna, all right, here we go. Who is this? And I walked right up to his face and I started yelling at him, shut your hole, puke. Who gave you permission to speak? And he kind of like jumped back, like, what the hell?
Who the hell is this guy?
Like, stand at attention. You know, chin up, chest out. And then he did everything I asked him to do. I walked around him. And finally, I remember what his father said about his haircut. So I took my swagger stick and I started ruffling up his hair. And he started putting his shoulder up, like, stop that. You know, like, don't. He's like, don't do that. I said, put your shoulder down, maggot. I told you to move. I didn't tell you to move. Did I tell you to move? He said, no, I just thought, you know, I said, shut your hole. Braided him. I said, by the way, who cut your hair? Ray Charles?
Not the hair.
He's looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? He's telling me that Ray Charles cut my hair. I paid $300 for this. So anyway, I did this promo on him, and he, you know, played along with it pretty well. So then I was all done, and I, you know, dismissed him, and I went to walk away, and I thought, you know, I'll put the little icing on the cake. I take a big drag of my cigar, right in his face, and he didn't see it coming, and I didn't know. I didn't know this. Everybody else knew it, but me. He hates smoke.
Oh,
If you're even told that you smoke, he'll fire you. You don't even have to smoke around him. If someone says, you know, Dean smokes cigarettes, fired. That's how much he hates smoke. If you sneeze around him, he'll fire you. You know, I've never seen the guy sneeze, cough, or yawn my whole time I've known him. I've never seen him do those three things. Plus smoke, he didn't smoke. So anyway, so I blow his smoke in his face, and now he goes out of character. He's turning blue and purple and red, and he's like shaking, and he just like
Wants to kill you.
Wants to kill me for real.
yeah.
So I get back, I yelled at a few more people, and I go back in the dressing room, and of a few of the guys that were still there in the locker room, they're all kind of like, that poor guy got fired before he even got started. So I'm taking my combat boots off, and all of a sudden I hear the quarters clink, 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 and I'm down taking my boot off, and I see these $300 loafers walking around my chair hearing these quarters. I knew who it was, and finally he stops in front of me, and I look up, And Mr. McMahon Sr. is looking down at me and he's like shaking his head. Goes like that. Come
Oh
on.
no.
Takes me in this back room. Same thing. I'm standing there with one combat boot in my hand and one on my foot. And he's walking around me, doing the quarters, and finally stops right in front of me. Looks right in my face. He's like that far from my face. And he goes, "That's the greatest villain I have ever seen in this business. Even my son hates you. I need you to start right away." I said, "Well, thank you for Mr. McMahon, but I'm still wrestling in Minneapolis under a mask. I can't just leave." "Don't worry, bud. I'll call up for a guy. Yeah, I got to get you in here, you know." So that's how I got into New York and became, you know, Sergeant Slaughter there. It started all over again because I had to put him in the mothballs for a while. To be in between your grandmother getting, you know, ill and having cancer, I had to quit the business and run Grandpa's roofing business for him, and had to give up the business for a couple of years till, you know, it was okay for her to be a little more by herself, and he wanted to spend every second with her, you know. So I had to give up the business and run the roofing business. So, but it all worked out eventually, and here I am.
Anecdote to
There
the
you
story.
are.
Anecdote to the story is people walk up now and ask, "Can he call me a maggot?
Yeah.
Can he call me scum?
Yeah.
Can he call me a puke?" They want that now, where they didn't want it.
It's like an
How
honor.
much extra does that
Yeah.
cost?
How much extra?
Oh, we hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's like an honor now.
Honor
to be
now,
called a
yeah.
maggot.
It's true. So where did you come up with the pukes, the maggots, the slime? Did you have those already, or was that in the moment?
Well,
It just came to you.
Kind of the character that I played off of was Jack Webb, who played the DI in the movie, and that's the name of the movie, the DI. And Jack Webb was the drill instructor, and it was a black and white film. I just happened to, my dad and I got rained out one day roofing, and he said, "Bobby, might as well just go home. We can't work out here in this downpour." So I'm drenched, and I get into the house and dry off, take a shower, and nothing to do. So I turn on the television. You know, back then we didn't have remote control. I just pulled out the knob, and as soon as it was like, I don't know, I guess it was meant to be, the stars were all lined up or whatever. As soon as I pulled that button to start the TV up, the Marine Corps hymn was playing.
Right.
And it caught my attention. I went, "Oh, I wonder what this movie is, you know." And he was the meanest, toughest son of a gun. And he never used any foul language because it was on television. You know, it was, back then you couldn't say the D word, you know, you couldn't say that. And so I started watching it. He didn't use those words, but I knew that if I wanted to play that character, I couldn't say the words that they normally would say in a boot camp, because I wouldn't be able to get on, wouldn't be able to do the character. I'd be thrown off the television. So I had to come up with different things that I could think of, like maggots and slimes and pukes and scums and slime balls. And, you know, I just came up with different words, and I'd go through the dictionary and just look for words that I could use. And then I would start nicknaming wrestlers different names. Like Bob Backlund, I called him Howdy Doody, you know, because he looked like Howdy Doody. You know, and I started entertaining people because I started calling Hulk Hogan the immortal puke. You're the immortal puke is what you are, Hulk Hogan. And the ultimate warrior was the ultimate puke. And And then I started calling Hogan the Immortal Slime, and everybody had a nickname. I didn't call
Right.
them by their names. And so I started.
Maniacs.
I was entertaining. I was entertaining people, and everything went right, and that's how it all started. And so, to answer your question, Kelly, when I got done, probably right after the alley fight, shortly after that, Vince McMahon Sr., who was still running the company, said, "Sergeant, I want you to leave for a while." And I said, "Oh, did I do something wrong?" And he goes, "Oh, no, you've done everything quite right. I just don't want you to be overexposed right now. I want you to go away for a while, and then I'm going to bring you back." And I said, "Oh, okay." So that's when I looked at Charlotte, North Carolina, and I saw the talent that was there, and I made my way down to. We all left. Well, you were still in Minneapolis, and we were still living there. So when I made my way down to Charlotte, that's when I brought you and Nicole and your mom to come down, and I said, "You guys got to come and see this place. This is like Minneapolis, Minnesota, with the Four Seasons, but not harsh like it is there."
Right.
So your mom said, "Okay, we'll come down," and you girls just fell in love with it there. And I remember our first Christmas there, we went out caroling, and it was like 70 some degrees. And we're out singing at all these different houses in the neighborhood, and we got T-shirts on.
Yeah. Tank tops.
Minnesota was like 50 below. And we
Right.
were, so it was just a whole different thing. Of course, I don't think we ever did that again, but that one year we were out caroling in T-shirts. It was so warm. But that's how we got to Charlotte. And then when it was time, when I was done in Charlotte, Vince McMahon, I called him and he said, "Yep, I'm ready for you. Come on back up." So I did my second term of duty back up into the New York, and that's when I laid it on him about the Iron Sheik. And we did the same thing. When I came back, we did 3 TVs. I was on the first TV, and everybody booing me and hated me more than the last time I was there. And then the second hour, I just did a promo, and then the third hour, something else. I did something else. So then we go out, Vince McMahon Sr. and Jr., Pat Patterson, and a couple other people. We all went out for a dinner and some drinks. And Vince McMahon Sr. was so happy that I was back. And Sergeant, it's so great to have you back. The greatest villain of all time in this business. And here you are back. And he just pat me on the back and put me over. And I couldn't say enough good things about me. And finally I said, "Well, Mr. McMahon, if you think I'm such a good villain, you ought to see me as a hero." And he said, "What? Sergeant Slaughter, a hero? No way, no way. There's no way you can be a hero." I said, "Well, I have an idea." He goes, No, you cannot ever be a hero. It would ruin your character. It would ruin that villain. You'd never be able to go back to it. But what's your idea? So I said, "Well, here's my idea. You got the Iron Sheik from Iran." I said, "We never got to punch Ayatollah Khomeini right in the nose for all he did, killing of the Marines at the embassy, the Black Hawks going down, the hostage situation." I had it all down. I mean, I had it all. I had rehearsed it already.
Yeah.
And when I finally stopped, his mouth was like, yeah, that sounds really good. And I almost hypnotized him. You can actually hypnotize people without them even knowing it. and I almost had him. And all of a sudden he goes, "Oh no, 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 no." That it sounds great, but it only lasts for a little while. Man, where will you be? You'll be floating around as this guy that took on. I said, well, it's just I think it's going to last longer than a couple of months. I think it could go a long time. And so I look over his shoulder, and there's his son who's taking over the company, and he's going, yeah. and Mr. McMahon Sr. looks around and goes, "Vinny, don't you turn the sergeant into a hero. Don't you do it." "Okay, Pops, okay. It's time to go. Let's go." So the following TV tapings, I do the first match. People hating me, worse. Then the second hour, I do another promo. And the third hour, I'm not even scheduled to be on. Now, the Iron Sheik does a promo the first hour. He's not on the second hour, but he's supposed to do a match on the third hour. So I'm all done. After the second hour, I see my name's not on the sheet for the third hour. So I start taking my stuff off, my outfit off. Here comes Vince McMahon Sr., our boss of today. And he comes running into the locker room, and he goes, Sarge, are you ready?" And I said, "Ready? I was born ready, Vince." He goes, "No, are you ready to do what you talked about?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Last 3 weeks ago when you told my dad about the the Iran thing, and you want to be the guy that goes up against the Iron Sheik for America." And I said, "Oh yeah, you like that idea?" He says, "I love that idea. You want to do it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have everything ready for next time." He goes, No, I want to do it now." I said, "What do you mean now?" He goes, "Right now." I said, "Right now?" He said, "Right now." Said, "I'm sending the Iron Sheik out to the ring." Ayatollah Blassie, Fred Blassie was his manager. And he said, "I'm not going to even tell them. The only people that are going to know that we're doing this is you, me, and the truck that's going to cue up your music. There are only 3 people." He said, "The element of surprise is going to blow the roof off this arena." And I said, "Okay." I started getting my stuff on, and I'm watching the monitor, and I finally am ready, and I can't find my campaign cover. I'm like,
Right.
"Where's my campaign cover?" And people that bring your things back from the ring after you take it off, sometimes they put it places you can't find it right away. So I'm looking, I can't find it. So I just grabbed a baseball cap that I got in my bag, got the Marine Corps patch on it. So I said, "Well, because they're about ready to start playing my music." So I'm watching the monitor, and the Iron Sheik beats up this guy. Eddie Gilbert was his name. Beats him up to a pulp. I mean, they take him out on the stretcher, and they're taking him out on the stretcher. The Iron Sheik knocks him out of the stretcher, starts beating him up. I mean, people are hating him and hating him. Eddie Gilbert was a fan favorite,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Marine Corps hymn starts playing, and the place goes silent. And I'm watching the monitor because I'm waiting to go out. And I see Fred Blassie's lips, and I see the Iron Sheik's lips. They're going, "Wrong music. Wrong music. This is the wrong music." It's not live, so they figured that, well, they'll probably just fix it in post,
Mm-hmm.
So here I come, and it got deathly silent. And all of a sudden, the people see me standing there, and I'm pointing at the Iron Sheik, and they started rumbling. "Yeah, here comes the cavalry. Here comes the Marines." So I start making my way, and they don't know what's going on. So we meet. In fact, we saw some pictures today, and we start looking at it, and Fred Blassie, being the pro he was, he knew something was up, but he didn't know exactly what was up. The Iron Sheik is like, I kill you. What they play the raw music. He was going berserk. So I said, you want to fight somebody, kick somebody out of their damn gurney? Try that with me, And so he gets by me, and Fred Blassie, gets him by there, and I get in the ring. I see that Eddie's okay. I get him, onto the gurney, and they wheel him out. And I grab the microphone. And right before I went out to the ring, and Vince McMahon went back to his announce position, he says, Sarge, all I want you to do is give me your best General Patton promo. I said, oh, no problem. I got 2 minutes to think of a promo. Nothing like putting a little
best one.
Yeah. Element of surprise was on me now,
Right.
What am I supposed to say? I didn't know what a General Patton did. So anyway, I go out there, and the only thing I could think of was I grabbed the microphone and I said, Iron Sheik, I declare war on you. And those people went crazy. Yeah, USA, USA. So I said, there's one thing I've done since I was a young boy in school, and I did it in the Cub Scouts, and I did it in the Boy Scouts, and in the Marine Corps. And I put my hand on my heart, and I did the Pledge of Allegiance. And those people jumped up on their chairs, and they got their lighters going, and saying the Pledge of Allegiance with me, and give me goosebumps. And just the moment was unsurreal.
That's turned up like that.
Hmm?
That's when you turn them like this.
Oh, just like that. I went from the most hated wrestler in the business to the most favorite. I mean, within maybe a minute, I did that speech, and I jumped down, and they're like jumping all over me. An hour earlier, they're spitting on me. They're kicking me. They're throwing stuff at me, throwing beers on top of me. And I walk back to the dressing room, and here comes Vince. Jumps into the locker room, and it was the last thing that aired other than the dark match to keep the audience there. And he jumps and gives me a hug, picks me up. That was incredible. I can't believe what you just did in 1 minute, And I said, well, let me down. Let me down. And I shook out his hand, and I said, you show me your side of the business, and I'll show you our side of the business. And together, we'll be a unit. We'll be a wrestling factory. And I said, from here on in, Vince, you'll be farting through silk. Said, I'm in.
Yeah.
So that's how the Sarge went from the meanest villain to the most popular. And Hogan was just coming in at that time. And to this day, Vince McMahon says, you're over so much bigger than Hulk Hogan could ever want to be. But Hasbro calls.
Right.
They saw what happened. They wanted to do a different way of bringing G.I. Joe back, and they wanted a live character. They wanted the first living G.I. Joe. They decided it was to be me. So the rest is history, as they say.
Well, I'm sure that you gave them the idea to have a real life G.I. Joe. Seeing that, they probably, if you hadn't have agreed to it, they might never have had a real life G.I. Joe. They might have just skipped over that altogether. But I think that when that happened, it was almost a perfect storm, because you've gone from the most hated heel in the business to arguably the superstar of wrestling at the time, and as far as I'm concerned, of all time.
Mhm.
And then you go
you
on
would
to.
say that.
I would, yeah. I will go on record to say that.
Okay.
But you wouldn't see the Super Destroyer Mark II in G.I. Joe.
No.
You wouldn't see, that's not the kind of character that gets elevated and becomes, a superstar of wrestling. You were able to tap into something that you were able to not only mimic but become. You weren't, you were Sergeant Slaughter to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking to people today saying that they couldn't imagine you talking in a regular voice or doing regular daytime activities or even being a father or a grandfather.
Or grandpa.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly
does
right.
he babysit? I said yes.
Yeah.
He babysits.
Yeah.
They I told them I'm sure you wanted to kill me when I said this to you, but that we used to argue and you would say, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And I would go, "I'm Kelly Remus. Who are you?"
Yeah.
Like, Dad, how did you not punch me in the face when I said that to you?
Because I was a tickle monster.
That's right. Kill him with kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about it didn't happen overnight. I didn't just walk out of the Allentown, Pennsylvania Agricultural Hall and right into G.I. Joe.
Right.
A friend of mine who knew our friend, my attorney, Ed Nussbaum, went to lunch, and he was out of Providence, Rhode Island, and his friend worked for Hasbro in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and they were having lunch. And this was like maybe 6 months after, or maybe 5 months after the turn with the Iron Sheik. And they were having lunch and well, what's going on in your life today? Well, we did this. What's going on at Hasbro? Well, we're thinking about going into a different direction, and we're looking to have a real life character. And oh yeah, well, what do you mean a real life character? Well, all these years we've only had voiceovers. One guy does 4 or 5 different characters, and we're just thinking about maybe going in a different direction where, we'll have a real life character and be like a spokesperson, someone we can send to children's hospitals or veterans hospitals, do the Toys R Us and things like that to help promote our product. And so bless you.
Yeah, bless you too. One more for the road.
And so that's good luck, And so my friends of my attorney says, well, who are you thinking about? He says, well, we've been throwing a few names around. He said, well, you ever thought about Sergeant Slaughter? He goes, that's what we've been talking about all morning. What made you say that? He said, well, my friend's his attorney and his friend, he knows it, Can you get a hold of him? That's who we want to talk to. That's the guy we put on the top of our list, but we didn't think he would, want to be interested in that. Well, you never know till you try. So that's when my attorney got the call from his friend. And he laid it out to what was happening and asked me if I'd be interested. I said, yeah, I'd be interested. So I went to do this with all intentions of bringing it back, if I secured the deal, to bring it back to Vince and say, look what I've done. That's what I did. I secured the deal. I won't go into all the details of how we got into it, but when I did have the meeting with the Hasbro people, as I went to leave, didn't say much during the meeting. They laid it all out what they were looking for, and they're playing hard, kind of hardball, hard to get. So as I got up to leave, I walked about maybe 20 feet, and I turned around, and they're all kind of like sitting at their conference tables, and I did a promo on them. And I said,
Nice.
listen, you maggots, I don't know what you do in here all day long, but if you're looking for the real G.I. Joe, I am G.I. Joe. You got it? And I forget all what I said. It was a lot better than I just did there, but and they're all like,
great.
yeah, okay. And so we jump back in the camouflage limo and we're heading back to Connecticut. And my attorney says, "You hungry?" Yeah, it's about 3:00 in the afternoon. Let's stop somewhere and have something to eat. So we stopped in Whitehorse or something like that in Connecticut and found this restaurant called the White House. And he said, "Go get a table and I'll go see if I got any messages from my office because I've been gone all morning and we didn't have cell phones back then." So he comes running back. He said, "Hasbro's called my office 3 times already. They want to sign you up." I said, "Really? All right." So I work out the deal. I don't tell anybody. Your mom, of course, knew about it. And so we just decided to, I went to Vince and I said, I couldn't wait for him to get to the television that date. And I said, "Vince, you'll never guess what's going on." And he goes, "What?" I laid it out to him. And he goes, "That's great, Sarge. That's great. But I can't let you do it."
Yeah.
"What do you mean you can't let me do it?" "I just signed with LJN, like 2 days ago, and they're my toy companies, and Hasbro would be a conflict of interest. But thanks, pal. Thanks for going the extra mile to try to,
Right. Thinking that you'll just let it go.
Yeah, I didn't let it go. I said, "Come on, Vince. This is a multi deal. I mean, you want to shoot your company into the atmosphere. Let's go on with Hasbro."
It's one of the steps. Yeah.
One of the steps. "Yeah, I love it, but I can't do it. It's a conflict of interest." He kept telling me, conflict of interest. Finally, I said, "Well, I'm leaving." "Oh, no, you're not leaving. WrestleMania's coming up, and all that." So we just went back and forth. And then I don't know if Kelly, if you remember it at all, but we're at the kitchen table and your mother, Nicole, and I having dinner, and your mom said, "What is wrong with you? Been pouting all day." I said, "Well, I'm in a dilemma." What's a dilemma?" "Well, Hasbro wants me to join G.I. Joe." "Yeah. And Vince wants me to stay." And he said, I can't go to Hasbro. I can't do G.I. Joe if I want to stay with him, stay with the WWF. And she said, "Well, that's pretty easy to figure that out." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Bob, you can always be a wrestler. You can't always be the first living G.I. Joe. If you don't do it, they're going to do it to somebody else. You're not the only guy in the running here. I'm sure that if you say no, they're going to pick up the next guy that's. And I said, "That's why you get the big bucks, honey." So next day I called Vince and told him I was leaving, and he still didn't believe me. We fought and went to court and lawsuits and all that. I think we touched on that this morning, but that's what happened. And so after all the lawsuits, because he thought that he owned Sergeant Slaughter, but he didn't, So we showed proof that in 1975 we started the Sarge, and that was it. He lost him. Well, I can't say. It's confidential, but I'm in G.I. Joe even today. So somebody won, somebody lost.
You won. I didn't sign anything. I can say it.
Okay, you weren't there. Okay, so, but anyway, that's how it all kind of went down. Would I do it all over the same? Yeah. I just at the moment it just sounded so great that I'd be the first living GI Joe.
Yeah.
But it didn't
Your
sink into me.
trivia question.
Mm-hmm. Good trivia, Bruce.
Yeah, no, I've had people like go out to the bars and do trivia and send the picture to me and say, "Look, your dad's a trivia question. Will say who was the first living GI Joe."
Right.
And I'm
Nice.
Yeah.
well, if
Yeah.
you don't know the answer to that, we can't be friends.
Right. Yeah. That's true. It's true.
So, but kind of going back a little to the Iron Sheik.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we lived in Connecticut around that time because I was in the second grade and I wrote a book. The whole class, everybody in second grade, that was your second grade project, was to write a book. And you illustrated it. And in art class, you got to make the cover and all of that. And I made one and it was called Dad Beat the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wish I could find it. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, you've got it.
I just got to find it. That's all.
And I think because it was around the same time as, what's his name? Nikolai Volkov.
Right.
And so I got confused and I said that that the Iron Sheik was Russian.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And that Russians were bad.
Right.
That's why we didn't like him, because I had no idea what I was talking about. I was in second grade.
I remember slapping you around about that.
Yeah, right.
Get it straight, kid.
But I remember after I saw him have a weapon in the ring, which I'm pretty sure I've told this story before. He had the weapon and he put it in his belt or in his trunks, and then the ref was checking his boot, and then
Yeah.
would move it from his belt to his boot, and then the ref would check his belt.
Yeah, right.
And and then Nicole and I, my sister and I, just like freaked out and thought that he was going to kill you and right in front of us, and it was just horrible, and Nicole had to leave and that whole thing.
Oh.
And the next day there was a brunch and he came up to me and was like, "Oh, Kelly," wanting to talk to me. And I was like, "Ah, you tried to kill my dad!" And ran away. Like came behind you. I think I was like,
man.
"That man," and he was like following behind me, and I was like, "He's following me!" Oh my god!
Your mother has never forgiven me for that either. She said, "Why did you do that? Your children are watching that, but I didn't know he was going to do it. I didn't know he's going to stab me." But it happened.
Traumatizing. I talk about it in therapy all the time.
Yeah.
You tell the story of the Iron Sheik reading a book to someone. Who is that?
Nicole.
To her sister.
Her sister?
Her sister, yeah, when she was about 2 years old. He lived at, this is before he was the Iron Sheik. He just run as Xazyl Basari, the Sheik. He's just from Iran, and that's how he wrestled. Didn't have the Iron Sheik gimmick at that time yet. So he would come over early, usually about a half hour early, and would read books to Nicole, because he was learning how to read and speak English at the same time. And he was watching Sesame Street, he told me. He said, "I watched Sesame Street. I watched Sesame Street." Damn, they were teaching him how to speak the language. And so he would put her on his lap and get a book. He said, "Nikki, bring book to me. Bring book to me." And she was like 2 years old, and she'd bring a book, and she'd sit on his lap, and he'd open it up, and he'd point at the different animals, and he'd go, "What is this?" And she'd go, "I don't know." Because he was hard to understand. And so he would point at a bird, and he'd go, bird, bird. You know, he had a funny pronunciation for it, bird. And so they would, every day that before we go somewhere, he would give her a lesson on all the animals. And sure enough, she started learning as he was learning it, you know. And to this day, when I see him at a autograph session, and he's like a couple tables away from me, he'll be concentrating so hard on signing his autograph, and I'll go, bird, bird. And he starts to laugh, and he's scribbling all over the. Yeah, Sergeant, that was fun time. That was it. We were just with the Iron Sheik on
Last
Sunday.
week.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You show that?
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if they can see that.
Can you see this? I don't know.
Oh yes. I'll bring it up a bit closer. Hang on a second.
There you go.
Yeah. He's looking well.
Really well.
Yeah, they're doing a biography on him for A&E, and so we were in Atlanta, and I just hadn't seen him in a while because he doesn't go anywhere anymore. Trying to get him to do some shows, but he just doesn't feel like he wants to.
Right.
But maybe after our visit, he'll think about doing some more. But they were at his house or somewhere all week shooting his biography.
Yeah.
And looks like it's going to be really well done. And so they were here at the Slaughterhouse for about 5-6 hours interviewing me on him. They wanted to know some stories. So I told them the best stories I could that I thought were, able to be put on a show. And finally, the last hour, the producer told the director, the producer was in LA and he's on a feed, and he says something to the director, and the director says, Sarge, those were all good, fun stories, but do you have anything like really good? Like, can you tell us some really stories that nobody ever knows about the Iron Sheik? I said, well, I didn't know if we should be doing that. I don't want to make any problems for him. Oh, no, he gave complete orders that, he's all fixed up. He's out of rehab, back with his wife, stopped drinking, no more drugs. And he wants the story to be told. And you have to tell the story as it is. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure about that? Yeah, we're up. It's really true. I said, okay, here we go. And so I told some juicy stories. I don't know if they'll air or not, but I told them.
Well, I can't wait to
Well,
see it.
if they don't air on A&E, they can air right here.
We will tell them on there.
We'll tell them here.
That's right. Exclusive.
Exclusive.
Yeah. That's for sure.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about tonight? Because we're going on an hour and 22 minutes.
Why don't you say something?
Yeah, Dean, tell us some of your exploration, some of your adventures.
I'll tell you a Sergeant Slaughter story.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yes, let's hear this, please.
It's not that juicy like the Iron Sheik stories.
Oh, come on. I want to hear the juicy stuff.
Yeah. Make something up.
I can get to those in a little while. I got to tell my first Sergeant Slaughter experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my first Slaughter experience, I was 16 years old. And back then, when he came to the ring, they always had somebody carry the flag in front of him to the ring. Hand him the flag, he would wave it and then hand it back out, and you'd go to your seat. I was lucky enough to be one of those people in Charlotte, North Carolina, and walk into the ring with about 5 of my buddies that all had campaign covers on. And we were in the back of the house, and they came up and asked us, sure, we will. So that was my first experience with Sarge.
I never knew that.
You never knew that, huh? Okay. Learned something new today, didn't you?
Now I know.
Now you know. That's half the story.
I got to ride in a tank one time and hold the flag in the tank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, into a ring. We were outside somewhere. I can't remember, but it was always a fun experience getting to do that.
Yeah. It's really amazing going from that 16-year-old kid to other times that I met Sarge. Carowinds. He always showed up at Carowinds. I guess he took you guys to Carowinds. So I'd see him out in the middle of Carowinds. And nobody would talk to him. He'd just stand there looking around at everything and nobody be around him. So he was bigger in life then to me, and still is bigger in life. I mean, he's an amazing gentleman, and I'm glad to have him as a friend.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was very nice of you to say.
That is very nice.
True.
How much do you get paid to say that?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
There.
There you go. You know, it's funny that you bring up Carowinds because and that there'd be no one around him, because I remember we used to take him to Carowinds. So Carowinds, Xazyl, and for those of you that don't know, is an amusement park in the Charlotte area.
Oh, right.
It's right on the border of North and South Carolina. So depending on where you are in the park, you're either in North Carolina or South Carolina.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. And there's a part where there's the line. And so you can stand with, both feet. So you're in 2 states at one time. Anyway, so we would go and everyone would crowd around him, and everybody would come and crowd, and he'd be signing autographs and doing all this stuff. And my sister, my mom, and I would be like, well, let's go ride some of the rides now that they're all down here. And there was
smart.
We would go up and on our way up, people would be like, Sergeant Slaughter's here. Sergeant Slaughter's here. No way. Everybody be running, and we're like, right on. And then we would be like, Dad, we've ridden all of the rides around this part of the park, so can we move to the other part of the park because there's more rides we want? So we would walk over. He would be walking, signing autographs, walking over, and we'd plant him, and we'd be like, okay, now right here.
That's smart.
And then we'd be up there, and then we'd be telling people, hey, did you know Sergeant Slaughter's down there signing autographs? And so then we'd be like, oh, cool. Now we can go in the front row.
Yeah.
The car or whatever. So, but yeah, we did that maybe once or twice, Dad.
Yeah, my little juvenile anecdotes.
Sarge didn't get to go on any rides.
Well, and it would be and then after that he'd be like, okay, I'm done writing, I'm done signing, here with my family, blah blah blah, and then we would be able to go and do some stuff. But
we went to Disney World one time. Well, we went several times, but one time when we were there, I was being bothered so much that I started saying, I'm not Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, you are. I said, no, I'm his twin brother.
Right. Yeah, right.
I said, I'm John Slaughter. My brother's Bob Slaughter. He's a mean guy. I'm a nice guy. So, but I'll tell him that you were asking, and both Nicole and Kelly go, Dad, you can't tell him that. Why can't I? They're bothering
I've
me.
never met this uncle.
But another flag story I'll tell you real quick. As Dean had mentioned, I would pick out somebody to take a flag out for me. Sometimes it would be somebody in the back, somebody's kid or boy or girl or whoever I would pick. I'd go up and I'd say, would you mind carrying the flag out for me? Oh, yeah. So this one boy said that he would do it. So just about to go out there, I can't find the kid. Finally, he comes up. He said, I'm sorry, Mr. Slaughter. I'm so nervous. I'm afraid I'm going to drop the flag. And I'm not going to do it. But my friend's going to do it. I said, okay, that's no problem. Don't worry about it. Okay, so years go by. I go to WrestleMania. Not know what number it was, but it was the last one we had in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. And I go into the locker room. I'm there early because I'm working with the office and doing my thing. And so I put my bag in the dressing room and I go to a couple meetings and get things out of the way. And I go to catering and I go back to my locker room. And on the way, Bray Wyatt, I don't know if you know who Bray Wyatt is. He said, Sarge, thank you so much. What an honor. I noticed that your bag is right next to mine in the locker room. I hope you don't mind if I'm sitting next to you. I said, why would I mind? He said, well, you're a superhero. I mean, you're the man, and it's an honor to be sitting next to you. I said, well, that's very nice of you. So then day goes by. He's getting ready to have a wrestling match, and I'm sitting there doing some paperwork. And he said, Sarge, I got to tell you a story. I said, what is it? He said, remember one time down in Florida and you wanted somebody to carry the flag to the ring for you and the kid chickened out? I said, yeah. He said, that was me.
Oh, wow.
Bray Wyatt's one of the biggest stars in the business right now.
Right.
Chickened out.
Wow.
It's just crazy how those things happen, you know. His father, of course, was Mike Rotundo, and his brother, you know, wrestles also, but his dad still giggles about that. He said, yeah, Bray came to me. He said, Dad, I'm terrified. I can't take him. I can't do it. And he said he was crying. He said, don't worry about it. They'll get somebody else to do it. Don't worry about it.
So he went on to become the Fiend, right?
Yeah, he's the Fiend.
So he's gone from being full of fear to bringing the fear.
Yeah.
Well done to him. What a great story. What a small world.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, very small world. So, Dad,
By the way, speaking of Remus.
Yeah, what is that? George Remus whiskey.
George Remus whiskey.
That was my great grandfather, I believe it was, or it might even. It was in the Prohibition days. Did you ever see the series Boardwalk
Empire?
Empire?
Yeah.
George Remus was one of the bootleggers.
Right.
And his motto was, nobody messes with Remus. Because they'd always try to, you know, make bad for all the bootleggers and steal their whiskey and kill them and this and that. And he always would say, nobody messes with Remus. And I happened to see it one time, and I said, it's a real deal. I mean, George Remus is a
There it is.
So
we're related to that guy?
Hmm?
We're related to that guy?
Yeah. I don't know if he's my great-great-grandfather or if he's my great-grandfather's brother. I'm not sure how it stems off.
The guy that was in Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
Like the
Well, that was an actor.
Yeah, but I mean like
the person that they're the character behind it.
Like in the 1920s. So I guess he'd probably be my great-great-grandfather or my
100 years old, two removed, maybe.
Yeah, you know. So, or it might have.
There you go.
It might have been my great-great-grandfather's brother. Anyway, we're related.
Somewhere in the family tree of ours.
We are related.
Wow.
So now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Knowing is half the bourbon.
Half the bourbon. It's all the bourbon.
Yeah. And I don't drink bourbon.
Well,
I bought a case of it.
Yeah. Send some my way then.
Yeah,
I'll take it off your hands. I'll take it off your hands. I'll send you some vodka.
Yes.
We'll do a switch.
So what's going on with you, badass bitch? You got anything coming up?
See, and he did a promo a couple weeks ago when I was here, and he was calling you badass bitch, and I sat up straight. I was like, really?
That was you in the background of that one, right? Yeah.
I'm the one going, hey, Sarge.
Yeah, right.
That was him.
Oh, well, thanks for doing that, man.
He wants residuals. Can you believe that?
You should see
You
the
got it.
outtakes where he comes go to his line. He goes in. The guy forgot his lines that's supposed to cut in here right now. What happened to you?
I get to the line and he forgets to say it. So I continue. I said, all I'm doing is waiting for the guy to say the damn line.
Like Dean's the guy that you want in line. He's not necessarily the guy you want to feed lines.
There you go.
Right.
You figured it out fast, right there.
That's right.
He finally gave me a cue card and set it in front of me.
Of one line.
3 words. I had to write it down for him.
Fan event.
Hey, Sarge, fan event.
Dean's the kind of guy you don't want to be behind in the buffet line either.
All right.
I don't eat as much as him though.
Oh no!
He makes me eat more. He does.
Somebody asked us if we were related today.
Yep.
Believe that?
Mm-hmm.
I can see
He
it.
said, I'm not related to Doink the Clown.
I don't know him.
You're not related to Doink the Clown.
I do not know him.
Somebody asked my husband, Derek, if he was a wrestler one time. And we weren't even with you, Dad.
Right?
He had a mohawk at the time.
Yeah. That could be
big
it.
guy. We were at the grocery store and he had been really working out. And some guy asked me. I was like, no.
I've never been asked if I'm a wrestler. No. It's never happened.
I'll tell you a funny story to this guy. He does a great job of not listening.
Oh.
He acts like he doesn't hear what's said.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people go, hey, you look like Sergeant Slaughter. And he'll just... and then other times
Like
it's,
you talking to me?
Who? Sergeant Slaughter. Never heard of him. He does a good job.
Meanwhile, he's wearing a Sergeant Slaughter shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Always promoting myself.
But you have no idea who that guy is.
Has anybody ever told you? Never.
Yeah.
He always say, hey, girls, we'd be out to eat somewhere. And he'd be like, girls, we got to go. You need to hurry up and eat. And we'd be like, oh, okay, why? And he'd go, because somebody recognized you. Meaning somebody's recognized me. Let's get the hell out of here before I get mobbed.
Yeah.
Well, people are recognizing you now, Kelly. On today's stream, everyone was starstruck to see you when you popped in.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't help
Right.
it. Kidding.
Yeah.
That was surprising. That was that made me feel nice. That was good. So Hans is his name. Hans.
Yeah.
He said that he ran in and told his wife that he was talking to Kelly Remus and that he couldn't put his kids to bed. And I was like, and was your wife like, who the hell is Kelly Remus?
It was a strange woman.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, she knew who you were. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think I'm a ventriloquist. That I sit next to this dummy all day long. His mouth moves and words come out of his mouth, but my mouth's never moving.
That's true. Very true.
Let's try it.
Dean, you don't have to put up with that, mate. You can stick up for yourself.
He
I'm
is a dummy.
I'm sleeping in the guest room, so I got to put up with a lot right now.
All right, gotcha. Gotta do what you can. Yeah.
There's no lock on that room either.
I don't want somebody coming off the couch across the room and jumping on top of me in the middle of the night, scaring the crap out of me.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, Dean, give us another slaughter story.
Another slaughter story.
But I want a juicy one.
You want a juicy one?
I want
Juicy one. I have been taught that it is a gimmick that I have to sell, and it is true. It is true. It is an added charge to join the club.
So how much is it for a Cobra clutch?
You have to buy the combo to get the Cobra clutch for the extra kick.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. Get the don't skimp on the Sarge.
Yeah.
Get the full package.
It's not every day you get to meet Sarge.
Oh,
that's right. How often are you going to get a Cobra clutch?
And
That's exactly it.
if I
Hey,
meet him, we're
I do
gonna
this all the time with him, and this is, most of the women come up and get the cover clutch, and their boyfriends are like, "No," and he'll witness that.
Yeah.
You're not putting me in that. No way.
My funnest time is when they'll take a picture together, and I'll put the woman in a headlock, and I call it the slaughter hug.
Yeah.
Take a picture. Then I'll say, okay, now you get the cobra clutch, and I'll put the guy in the cobra clutch, and then we'll take a picture, the three of us, without just a point or a show the Hall of Fame ring. So as they go to leave, I'll say, I want a rematch. And the guy goes, okay. And I said, not with you, with her.
And he just stole my juicy story.
Oh.
Oh, was that it? Oh, that's great. That's fine. That's a team effort.
Yeah, I am a ventriloquist.
See that? I wasn't the one moving my lips this time.
It's a double act.
There you go. Yeah. Sometimes it's really scary to how close sometimes we say the same things.
What was juicy about that?
That was a juicy story.
Oh, okay.
Rematches.
Rematch.
Yeah, rematch.
The rematch.
Dad, I want to end with this
Yes.
story, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
It just popped in my head. I don't know if I want to say her name. Xazyl, can you bleep it
Sure.
so I can say it and he'll know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'll cut that piece out. Go for it.
Okay.
Oh. He's probably not even with us anymore.
Okay, so my dad had like a, what would you call it? Like an extreme fan. Stalker.
Stalker.
Oh, I knew the story.
A stalker. And she somehow got our address.
Got the address of my P.O. box.
The P.O.
Right.
And she sent cookies and she knitted blankets. And I don't know what else. I was young, so I'm sure I didn't get to hear everything that was sent. But so tell us about your stalker, Dad.
Well, I thought you were telling the story.
But you know the juicy parts.
Yeah, tell us the juicy parts.
What juicy parts?
I don't know.
All I remember is whenever she would send something for you or Nicole, your mother was never mentioned, and everything was smelled like this horrible perfume. She would just spray everything, and as soon as I'd open up my P.O. box door, I could smell it, and I knew
she's been there.
something was from her. And half the time, I would like take it with my two fingers and put it in the car because I always brought it home. I wanted everybody to see it because it was nothing that there was nothing involved in it other than she
would send letters.
Yeah, letters and
packages.
Never any pictures. I don't even know what she looked like. I thought she would send a picture to show me what she looked like. And she was from the Boston area. And I often wondered if she was around me, when I wasn't.
Oh, right.
No.
If I was at a restaurant or a bar or after the matches or at the matches, I often wondered if she was near me, And so I try to smell that perfume, Just there was no perfume like it. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough, but I don't know what happened. She finally quit. I never answered her, so I guess she finally just gave up on it, or maybe something happened to her. But I don't know whatever happened to that situation. I'm glad it didn't go any further than that. I'm glad she didn't show up at our house or something like that.
Well, I remember Mom being worried about that, and you guys talking to Nicole and I about.
We had a house. We had a house in Connecticut that you couldn't find, even if you were looking for it. I mean, even if you were told where it was, you couldn't find it. And sometimes we had people one
We
night.
did have somebody find it one time. You
Yeah.
were home.
Right. I wasn't even home. Your uncle was there.
My uncle, my mom's brother was there visiting from
Yeah,
Minnesota.
John
and
Slaughter.
showed up.
They saw some lights in the driveway. We lived up on kind of a plateau of a hill. And as I said, it was down a dirt road, and I tore the wooden
Sign off.
sign that said Walnut Lane. I pulled it off the tree when we first moved there, never put it back up. Nobody ever put it back up. There's only our house and another house on the road. And to find that house, you had to know somebody but anyway, we had a dog, and the dog started barking.
We had 2
And-
dogs.
Yeah. And
Both
so
started.
your mother looked out, and there's some headlights, and it was there for quite a while. And then finally, they kept looking and looking. Finally, this lady had a little boy with her and brought him up to the door and rang the doorbell. And Richard, Kelly's uncle, went to the door, and she said, "Is he here?" And he said, "Excuse me, is he here? Is who here? Him. Him who? Him. Is he here? We hear he helps people." And her son, like his face was all like smashed in or something. And
He was disfigured.
She disfigured.
He
She
was
was
disfigured.
looking for some money.
Like burned.
Yeah, burnt.
Okay.
Looking for some money Richard said, he's not here, and unless you want the police to be here, I suggest you leave and don't ever come back, So she finally left, and it was just kind of if he hadn't been there, you don't know what might have happened,
That poor kid, though. That's horrible.
Yeah. So you just never know. I mean, that wasn't the only time that happened, but it's just those things go on.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame.
It's just,
The mother's desperation in that moment too must have been.
yeah.
It wasn't a child. He was a adult son.
Oh, right.
It
Still.
was an adult son. I mean, still, I'm just saying, he's telling the story like it was a little boy. It wasn't a little boy. It was a grown man.
Sure, gotcha.
But that is scary when you're a little kid and there's strangers coming to your door asking.
Oh yeah.
Bad. And it was interesting because our dogs were actually really nice dogs, and they were going crazy on these people. So that, I think, is what alarmed us more than anything else, because they were the kind of dogs that were like, oh, if you were a robber, they'd be like, "Hello, robber, I'll show you where the good stuff is. Just rub my belly, rub my butt." They were like really nice, friendly dogs, and they were
must have sent something.
Yeah.
He does the same thing.
I rubbed you?
No, at the gimmick table when you take pictures and stuff like that.
I thought you meant rub my belly, rub my butt.
Give you 1 minute to stop that. I can't sell that. That's free.
I know that time is precious. So thank you for that. And it was good to see you, Dean. It was good to meet you.
I've heard a lot about you too. So
it's all true. And I'm sorry. And I'm sorry.
And now you know.
Now you know.
Knowing is half the battle.
Exactly.
Yo,
See you
Joe.
later, everybody.
Goodbye.
As you were.
As you were.